Good morning, comic book fans. Welcome back to Comics in 5 Minutes. We have a little bit of shorting. I'm going to look at Event Horizon Dark Descent today. And this is one which I was thoroughly excited about and also very, very nervous about, apprehensive, skeptical. Because Event Horizon is one of my all-time favourite horror movies. I was lucky enough that when it came out in the cinema, my local place did midnight black box showing, so it was pure darkness, just thoroughly engaging with this medium, and it was beautiful and brilliant, and I've owned it in multiple formats, and I go back and I rewatch it. It's always a movie I'm happy to stick on. It is just horror done really, really well. The idea of there being a comic book for it, I was like, well, that might be interesting, like the right creative team could do something interesting with that world, but it didn't need to be done. I think the story of it is brilliantly just self-contained. Yes, there are missing aspects to the story, but none of them need explaining. It can just exist on its own, and I have no problem with that. Throw into the fact that Christian Ward is writing it, and that added an extra level, because I will say, and I've mentioned this before in previous reviews of his work, I absolutely love him as an artist, but as a writer, he's been getting better, and he's finding his voice more and more each time, but he's still certainly someone I think if I saw the name on the cover, I'd still be hoping there were the artist and not the writer. Now, that's, again, not a criticism of his writing. It is getting really, really good, but his art is fantastic. Go and check out Spectrograph. It is genuinely one of the most beautiful comic books I've read, and a fantastic horror story at that. This one, the art is actually by Tristan Jones, and I gotta say, just my very first couple of lazy flicks through it, I was in love straight away with the artwork. It's got almost Riddick. Damn, I'm totally forgetting the guy's name. But his art style, it's got a vibe very similar to that. Very nice, simple line work, but plenty of detail where it's needed, and a colour palette which is very dark in this case, rather than the richness you sometimes get with Essam's work. But in this case, it's also kind of washed out, faded, disappearing into darkness and shadow, and all of that is done brilliantly when we do get those deep, dark, rich reds which do drop in every once in a while. Honestly, a spectacularly good-looking book. The kind of book where I want to just take loads of pictures of it and share on social media so everyone can realise how good it is and go and buy it. During the fact that you've got the cover artist, I've forgotten his name, but I'm fairly sure it's the guy who did News from the Fallout. I've absolutely totally forgotten his name though. But absolutely brilliant cover, and the cover issue 2 looks equally fantastic. So I was like, right, okay, yeah, let's give it a go. Let's properly get in and see what Ward has done with the source material. And first off, he's basically doing a story what happened to Event Horizon on that very first trip, rather than when they went and found it when it reappeared years later. And I was like, yeah, okay, this is the gap in the story which would make the most sense to go and explore. But we also get just really good storytelling anyway. There's quite nice uses of flashbacks. There's really, really nice moments which are very reminiscent of the movie, where we get this dark, alternate, void reality of hell and horror sneaking in, creeping into the world of the story. And it's done fantastically in a way that does reminds me of the movie, where it's almost like little stuttering images where things have been spliced into the movie from somewhere else. It's not quite possible to totally recreate what happens in the movie. It's the whole thing of a moving image compared to a set of still images you read narratively with words on there. But it does the best I think it can do. And more importantly, it never really feels like it's trying to 100% replicate it. The creators understand what they're doing here, and they know as a comic book there's going to be limitations, and they use them very effectively, such as absolutely spectacular double splash pages showing some fantastic artwork and total control of light and shadow and colour. And the pacing is really good as well. I've got to give credit to Ward for this one, because we get some very nice introductions to the characters, like some of the main ones we're going to be following. And we get to find out quite a lot of them through in-world conversations. Then we get this really odd little beat where it's like a box-out text telling us who this person is. I was like, but I already know this. I didn't need to be told this. We've got it through what you've shown us of the character, their conversation with the people, and their motivations come across through that. And I thought it was kind of odd, like an unusual thing for somebody to do when they've clearly already done that job. But then jumps to a character we haven't really met before and does the same thing for them. And I was like, oh, right. We did need it for these other people. It was a very nice little flow of idea, and meant we did get a very basic introduction to half a dozen characters who he didn't have the time to spend doing that level of intro, which is fine. It's very much in keeping with this kind of story. There is going to be some main characters who are more likely to survive the horror that comes. Probably not going to survive, because I know how this plays out, but in general terms. And then some other ones who won't last so long, so you don't really feel the need to spend that long giving them proper intros and backstories. And I think it worked really quite nicely. So it was something I was a bit nervous of. It landed. And then throughout the rest of the story, fantastic beats, really, really nice exposition when it's needed, and again, absolutely glorious to look at. Honestly, fantastic comic book. If you are a fan of the movie, you should go and check this out. That's it for me for now, though. Until I see you all again, look after yourself, everyone. Stay safe. Bye.